Breastfeeding in this modern world is not a certainty. A look back to our ancestors who more often than not successfully breastfed will help us see where things have changed. In the past, in public, the function of breasts was a source of nourishment for a child. Today, that has been largely overshadowed by their sexual role. And women often feel a need to hide away when they're using their breasts for breastfeeding. Once bottle feeding was never heard of, now it's commonly seen, and attractive adverts frequent the media that tempt with compelling marketing. Once breastfeeding was the social norm, handed down from mother to daughter. Now there are over 28,000 certified lactation consultants around the world being called on by a generation of mothers that struggle for help in a more medicalised world. In the past, children grew up watching their mothers, sisters and cousins breastfeeding. Today, a first-time mother may never have seen breastfeeding up close and personal. We are mammals, and breastfeeding is how we feed our babies. Human milk is specific for human babies, designed to grow our advanced brains. It has been recognised for its health benefits only after breast milk substitutes were used that highlighted adverse outcomes for both mothers and babies when they were not being breastfed. For example, mothers who breastfeed are less at risk of breast cancer, and they generally experience less stress and anxiety, and the return of ovulation is usually delayed, creating a natural contraception. The child breastfed has reduced risks of ear infections, tummy bugs, respiratory infections, and sudden infant death syndrome, known as SIDS. Knowing the benefits helps us set the goal for breastfeeding, but it doesn't always translate into that goal being met. One reason is because we can't use the knowledge of bottle feeding for breastfeeding. Bottle feeding is very different. It is where you give a scheduled feed of milk every few hours and use other techniques to soothe and calm the baby. Breastfeeding is about an organic, unique relationship where a baby's needs are met for comfort, warmth, sucking gratification, closeness, security and thirst, with nutrition as a spin-off. Breastfeeding is an intimate way of mothering, based on the cues of the baby and the needs of the mother. When breastfeeding is approached in this way, it's more likely to succeed. Women that succeed tend to have strong social support, unmedicated vaginal deliveries, and confidence in their ability to breastfeed. I'll now discuss these three enablers. My video on labour covers the process of a vaginal delivery, and the informed consent one helps navigate through making decisions around medications. However, achieving this goal is not always obtainable because there can be many unforeseen circumstances that happen during the delivery. But be rest assured, many women with medicated deliveries go on to successfully breastfeed because there are many factors to contribute to its success. Regarding social support, it's what a woman sets up before she has the baby that is most helpful. The people closest to you, like your family, partner and grandparents, will be invaluable support. Having them on the same page as you around breastfeeding knowledge will help strengthen the support. It may be worthwhile watching this video together and discussing it afterwards. The kind of support breastfeeding mothers appreciate is both emotional and physical. Emotional support is the acceptance of their decision to breastfeed and having confidence in them to succeed. Physical support is providing opportunity for the mother to sleep when the baby does during the day, helping with meal preparation, housework, and if they have older children with them. In an ideal world, 6 weeks would be helpful for mothers to spend their time breastfeeding, caring for their newborn baby, and recovering physically. To start this section on confidence building, I would like to share a story about a new baby gibbon monkey at a zoo in New Zealand. The mother didn't know how to breastfeed her new baby because of the isolation in the zoo environment. To remedy the situation, the zookeepers had a human breastfeeding mother feed her baby where the gibbon could see and showed her a video of gibbons breastfeeding from another zoo, and that mother successfully fed her young. We too are primates by definition, and we benefit from observing the behaviour of our species. New mothers who have seen breastfeeding in action over their lifetimes will increase their confidence to do the same. Attending latch league meetings is one way of achieving this. They have groups all around the world. They started in America at the end of the 50s when breastfeeding started to decline, built on the premise that breastfeeding is best learnt mother to mother. Other countries may have breastfeeding support groups which have different names. For example, in Australia, they have the Australian Breastfeeding Association. If you're unable to experience breastfeeding firsthand, you can find helpful breastfeeding videos on the Global Health Media site. Another way to build confidence is with knowledge. I'll now talk to you about milk production and then latching. Successful breastfeeding breasts and nipples come in all shapes and sizes. Having large breasts, which has lots of fat tissue in it, doesn't equate to more milk because it's about the breast milk making tissue in a breast. So small breasts can make plenty of milk. During breastfeeding, the breasts grow. The areola darkens and usually increases in size too. The breasts start the production of colostrum early, ready for the birth at any time, tailored to the specific gestational age of the baby. There are things you can do while pregnant to prepare for breastfeeding. These are my 2 suggestions. Free the breasts from a bra as much as possible and enjoy them as part of lovemaking, because breastfeeding requires a lot of exposing and handling of the breasts. No need for any special hardening up techniques of the nipples. Preparing 2-piece outfits that can be worn after birth that accommodate a post-baby tummy and are easily lifted up for breastfeeding will allow you to feel more comfortable and confident. The breast makes milk in little sacs that are connected to the nipple through a series of ducts. So the milk doesn't squirt out one hole, it squirts out many. As soon as the baby and the placenta are out, the mother's body starts making the hormone prolactin. This increases the milk production and changes it to being thinner and whiter. When the baby sucks at the breast, another hormone, oxytocin, is released. You may remember it contributed to labour, and now it causes what is known as the letdown and squeezes the milk out. It could be felt like a tingling feeling, or the mother just may notice the baby increases their suck-swallow rhythm. Some mothers experience the letdown soon after the baby starts to suck, and others it takes a little while. There may also be another letdown in the same feed. This is one of the reasons why timing feeds can be damaging to adequate milk supply. Some women have letdowns and leaking from their breasts when they're not breastfeeding and wear breast pads. Changing them frequently will ensure your nipples are able to naturally dry and breathe. Between 2 and 5 days, some mothers experience hot sweats and breast engorgement. Feeding the baby as often as possible will help it pass in a few days, and applying cold and hot flannels to the engorged breasts will help with the discomfort. It can be a bit more challenging to get the baby to suck on the firmer, larger breast. However, this will pass and your breasts will stop being engorged and sore and be easier to handle and feed from in a few days. Initially, breast milk production is hormonal, so whether or not you breastfeed, you'll still make milk at the start. Very quickly, the mechanism changes to where it is the amount of milk that is removed from the breast that determines how much breast milk is made. It works a bit like a hot water cylinder. When you turn the tap on at one end and the water comes out, at the other end more is going in. If you think about it, it's a wonderful system. The more the baby drinks, the more milk is available. This system of supply and demand, when you can't see how much milk you're making, can challenge your confidence. Here's a few things to remember. Your breasts will decrease in size after the initial engorgement and at the end of most days. This is normal and healthy. Some babies aren't satisfied with 2 breasts at a feed and they want to go back on again. This is also common and normal. When the baby is latched on and you have a letdown and hear and see your baby do suck and swallows, it is your milk that he is drinking. Babies sleep for varying lengths for all sorts of reasons, and healthy babies wake in the night. Introducing a bottle interferes with the mechanism, and your breasts will miss the needed cues to make that milk. When babies' hunger increases, they have what's often known as fussy days or growth spurts when they feed more. As mothers respond to the baby's cues, usually within 24 hours, the breasts increase their milk production. Breastfeeding can feel like a full-time job in the early weeks as you get the hang of it. Babies need frequent feeding during the day and the night. When a baby wakes, feed them from that first breast until you feel they've really had a good feed before you swap them over and feed them from the other side. This will ensure that they get the richness of all the milk. Now to latching. It's the baby that latches on. Initially, it's all based on their reflexes and instincts. Immediately after birth, the mother is in a reclined position and the baby is ideally put skin to skin on the mother's tummy, where the baby pushes his feet using a crawling reflex to make his way to the breast. He is driven by the familiar scent of the amniotic fluid calling to him. His little fist reminds him of the scent, and all of his senses are working to get him there. When the baby finds the pillow of the breast and the hard nipple, he turns to it, opening his mouth. This is known as the rooting reflex. The baby's chin sinks into the underside of the breast, taking in the bottom of the areola and sucking in the nipple. He gets a drop of colostrum and swallows. It could have taken anything from 15 minutes to 2 hours. There's no hurry, and the baby should be allowed to feed for as long as he likes. That colostrum is high in immunity and proteins and helps expel the meconium, the first poo. This positioning, coming up from under the breast, is a key to the mother not experiencing pain and the breast being stimulated to make plenty of milk. A reclined position helps facilitate this. If you feel as though the latch is not right, just pop your little finger into the corner of the baby's mouth and break the suction and start again. Because of how the baby relies on their instincts, touch and smell, it's helpful not to have anyone physically help you. If you do need help, you can just ask them to talk you through it. At the start, it can feel awkward and uncoordinated. Putting the baby to the breast in the first few days when they're nice and soft will help you get plenty of practice. If the baby cries because you're taking a while, first settle the baby by holding him upright and talking softly before giving the breastfeeding another go. Babies need to be turned tummy to tummy and held close with their legs tucked around mum's waist for the head to be tipped back a little to allow the nose to be free for breathing. Our anatomy is designed for our chins to tilt up for a drink, no matter our age. Holding your breast back from the areola, connect the tip of your nipple with the baby's top lip or nose so he knows it's there. He'll then open his mouth and you can pull the baby into you, folding your nipple in, and a latch forms. It is not uncommon for you to have tenderness of your nipples at the start of a feed. This is new work for a part of your body that used to be tucked away. If your nipples do become sore, it would be helpful to ensure the latch is correct and squirt a little breast milk on them after a feed. If things don't come right, do seek help. Once the milk volume has increased, the baby sucks with a suck-swallow rhythm and has little pauses. If they pause for too long, or nibble at the breast, or go to sleep, you can use what's known as a breast compression. Holding the breast above the areola and giving them a gentle squeeze. Then release once you see the baby has a mouthful of milk. Then repeat as necessary. It's a kind of letdown simulation which forces some of the milk down to trigger more swallowing. It's a great way to get more colostrum into the baby in the first few days. Babies like the flow of breast milk as it stimulates them to suck and swallow when they have slowed down feeding. Breast milk is all a baby needs for the first 6 months. This is called exclusive breastfeeding. They don't even need water. Breast milk changes in composition during a feed, during the day, and over the weeks and months. It is specific to each baby and mother and their environment they live in. For optimum health and development, breastfeeding can continue for 2 years or more after complementary foods or solids are introduced around the 6 months mark. It may take a little while for you to be comfortable out in public breastfeeding, but once you do, it will mean a lot for your baby to be comforted when they need it and for future mothers to experience breastfeeding as part of normal life. You can become a breastfeeding star, not only for your baby, but for a new and sustainable future for the planet and humankind. Breastfeeding is one of the most cost-effective ways to save children's lives. The World Health Organization estimates 820,000 little lives would be saved annually if we had universal optimum breastfeeding. All the best for your future. Happy parenting.